I'm Deb Flashenberg. I'm the founder and director here at the Prenatal Yoga Center. I'm also a labor support doula and a Lamaze teacher and mother of two. So what I thought we'd talk about today is what is a doula? So not that long ago, I did a Periscope on the do's and don'ts of doula, of what doulas should be doing. And then from there, I actually had people respond back saying, well, now you're telling me the do's and don'ts, but you never actually explained what a doula was in full scope. So let's take a moment to talk about what is a doula? What should you expect from your doula? So, what is a doula? There's two different types of doula. There's labor support doula and there's postpartum doula. So I'm going to speak about labor support doulas because that's what I am, that's what I know. So couples will be hiring a doula independently. However, there are some hospitals, not here in New York, but there are some hospitals that will offer a doula service without charge. So some hospitals are fortunate enough to do that for the clients. So once the couple hires the doula, they're then going to talk about more of like what they want for their birth. So what is a doula going to offer? The doula is going to offer emotional, physical, and informational support. And then she's also, remember, not medically trained, so she's not going to be going in and doing vaginal exams. So the doula is offering non-judgmental support to the parent. It's not about what the doula perhaps wants for her birth, but it's really about what the parents want for their birth. And the doula is there just to make sure that she can assess that and help it to the best of her ability. So again, the doula is not going to be making decisions for the mother. She's going to be offering information so the mom can make the best decision for herself. So why have a doula? So this information is actually from DONA, which is the Doula Organization of North America. Several studies actually from there have shown having a doula at your birth is going to reduce the rate of routine interventions and cesarean rates. And then it's also going to lead to usually shorter labors and with fewer complications, as well as just a general sense of satisfaction with the mom. Usually when she has that kind of support, she can end her birth, whether it was exactly how she wanted or if it wasn't quite how she saw, the satisfaction with the birth is usually higher. So that is just kind of the statistics from DONA, Doula Organization of North America. All right, so let's now break down a little bit more into what the doula is going to offer. So emotional support, what does that mean? So it can be encouragement, it can be just calmness, and as well it can also be just, oh, is a doula an advocate? Sorry, I want to answer the question. Absolutely. The doula is an advocate for what the mom wants. So if the mom is coming in and saying, I really want an unmedicated birth, the doula is there to help the mom have that. Or if the mom is saying, I really want to get just to a certain place and have an epidural, the doula is there to help advocate that. So yes, she's an advocate. So that's part of the emotional support. She's listening to what the mother wants for her birth, and she's doing the best she can to bring that forth. So physical support, what does that mean? So a lot of hands-on, it's quite physical for not just the laboring mom, but for the doula and the partner as well. So the doula is getting in there and maybe she's doing massage, maybe she's grabbing her hot water bottle and adding that to the mom's back, maybe she's helping move the mom into different positions. She's also offering informational support. So what does that mean? So the doula is well versed in childbirth education. So she can start to say, it looks like we are going to start the care for mother saying, we might start Pitocin. And if the doula knows that that's not what the mother wanted, the doula could say, oh, I hear you're going to be starting Pitocin. How do you feel about that, client? It's something you said you didn't want. Do you want more information as to what that means? Do you want perhaps to wait if it's safe for mom and baby? So she's really there to kind of inspire the mom to ask the questions or the partner to ask the questions. She also knows what I call the emotional signposts of labor. So I remember having so many phone calls from the partner at the first strong contraction saying, oh my God, we're heading right into the hospital. There's a really strong contraction. And I have some experience with this, so I'd ask the mom to get on the phone and I would listen. Is she able to talk through the contractions? Is she dropping the phone and breathing and I can kind of hear her moaning? So the doula is going to have that information to get a sense of where the mother is in her labor, as well as know when things are starting to digress, and saying, things are not looking linear with your birth. So perhaps the baby's in a malposition, so we have to work with that. So doula is coming with a lot of insight into childbirth and helping the mom make sure that her birth is on a great structure, a great path. So again, the doula is going to also come with this whole tool bag of information. So if you're suspecting that maybe the baby's malpositioned, maybe the baby's posterior, the doula can help that so the mom doesn't keep going down that road of the malpositioned baby, which often leads to failure to progress, which often leads to cesarean. So again, the doula is really coming in to help with that. And then, so what should the parents expect? So as I kind of said earlier, the parents are going to meet the doula, and then I recommend having an interview with that doula, and we'll go over interview questions soon. After the parents interview the doula, and I hope several doulas to make sure they're really with the right fit, then the doula is going to do a prenatal meeting. And in that prenatal meeting, she's going to discuss all sorts of ideas that the parents want. And I always like to take notes, and then after my meetings, I type my notes up so that making sure what I heard is exactly what the parents want. And then I'll send my notes back. And then by having the notes typed up, I can also send it to my backup. So I always practice having a backup doula in case something comes up. So I can send the notes to the backup doula. So should she have to come in, she already knows the parent's idea. So here I am kind of sketching out their birth plan or birth preferences. And then from there, I'm going to be on call between 37 weeks all the way up to the birth. All right, we just had a person ask, what is the difference between a doula and a midwife? So that's a great question. So the doula is non-medically trained. So she's not going to be measuring the baby, listening to the baby's heart rate, all the care throughout the birth, nor is she catching the baby. That is for a medically trained person. So, and that is not the doula. So that would be either an OB/GYN or a midwife. So the midwife's really taking care of the medical side, and the doula is taking care of the physical, emotional, and informational side. Also, that said, and I wanted to get to this earlier, so I forgot to say that, was that the doula doesn't take the place of the partner unless that had been discussed and wanted to. The doula is really there to help the partner and the couple work together as a team. You know, so I've had some couples that the partner said, you know, this really freaks me out. I just need you to help guide me as to how I can be the best support for my partner. I've also had some couples say, I had one couple, they're very religious. The partner was not involved. He was praying during this. And so it really, the doula and the partner and the mom should be talking as to how they're going to work as a team. All right, so again, the doula's on call from 37 weeks all the way up until the mom gives birth. And that could theoretically be up to 42 weeks. So that's a good chunk of time that the doula's on call. All right, so we've talked about what is a doula, what does the doula do, the physical, emotional, informational support, why have a doula, the difference between a midwife and a doula. So let's talk a little bit about once you meet your doula, what should some questions be? Now I'm going to go through a list, and if you don't catch it all now, I do actually have a blog on all this, so you can go to our website, prenatalyogacenter.com, and go to the blog, and you can just type in what is a doula, and that will give you the list. Again, I really recommend having a conversation, an interview with your doula to make sure that you and your doula are a good fit. Remember, you're with this person during a very vulnerable, strong time in your life, and you want to make sure your personalities are a good match. All right, so my first question I would have you talk to the doula about is, what is your philosophy on childbirth? Do you attend only and support women intended to have natural, or are you okay with women that have pain medication? Again, doulas should be non-judgmental. However, if you have a doula that's really only like, I only want to support the natural birth, and that may not be what you're looking for, you want to have a doula that's going to embrace how you want to birth. Again, it should not be about how the doula would birth, it's about how the doula can support your birth. And then what are some non-pharmaceutical methods of pain management that you use? So one thing that I really like to use is a hot water bottle. That's one of my non-pharmaceutical pain management techniques. I like to encourage the women to move. I like to encourage the women to open their mouth and make noise and breathe and relax. I like to include a birth tub or a shower or a birth tub. You know, so there's a lot of hands-on massage. So those are some of my non-pharmaceutical pain methods. And you should be talking to your doula about what else they bring. I literally have my doula bag that lives in my closet, and when I get a call to come on a birth, I grab my doula bag and I'm on my way. And that's packed with a whole bunch of stuff, aromatherapy, fans, washcloths, etc. And then, how do you determine when to join the couple? You know, does the doula come to the home? Does she meet them at the hospital? So for me, my way is to listen to the mom and determine when she needs me. I really do try not to come too early in the labor experience, because if I'm there in early labor, which can last quite a while, it might be exhausting for myself and for the woman, and I really want to be fresh and alert and ready to help for when she's more in active labor and transition. I'm always available by my phone or text from 37 weeks on, as any doula should be. However, I do find it best not to come too early, and I kind of had to learn that. When I first started, I would show up when they wanted me right away, and I found that sometimes, and it was lovely, we would like just drink tea and talk to each other, but if it was a long birth, I wasn't quite as fresh and ready for when she really needed me physically to be there, mentally to be there, emotionally to be there, if I'd spent 10, 12 hours already during early labor. So that's how I determine for when the mom really needs me. Now, there have been situations where the mom's extremely anxious and nervous and she wanted me there earlier, then absolutely, because that's the emotional support side. But if that's not quite why she needs me, then I try to go for more when she's in active labor. Have I worked, or has the doula worked with that particular doctor or practice or midwifery practice, or at that hospital or birth center, and how does that integrate? So here in New York, we have a group of hospitals and birth centers, and fortunately I worked at many of them. However, there was a time when I was introduced to a new one, or a new practice, or a new doctor. So maybe you'll feel comfortable as the pregnant woman only hiring a doula that's worked with that practice or hospital, or maybe you're okay with her being introduced to them at that first time. This is an important one. How many births has the doula attended? Now, my personal opinion is if the doula has not done too many births, that she has a mentor. I found it extremely helpful that I had a mentor when I first started. So if I came into a situation that I didn't really know what was going on in the birth, I could reach out to that mentor and she could help guide me. Because if a doula's only done a few births and she's seeing something that's a little unusual, she might feel a little bit overwhelmed. So I think for the best possible care, if the doula has a mentor, if she's done a few births. And now I've known doulas that have done 5 births up to 5,000. So it's really quite a range, which leads us to the next question. How much does a doula cost? So again, here in New York, it might be a little more staggering of sticker shock than out somewhere else. So when I was really active as a doula and I had done over 100 births, I was charging about $2,000 a birth. I'm coming to that as a Lamaze teacher, as a certified doula that had been doing this for over 10 years. The doula that I have as a mentor, I believe now charges up to $3,000, and doulas that are newer charge much less. When I first started, my first 3 births, which I needed to do for DONA, I didn't charge at all. And then I slowly charged like $300 and then slowly worked my way up. I do feel strongly that a new doula should be very reasonably priced. Does the doula have a backup? As I mentioned, I always have a backup in case something comes up. And then I would recommend checking the references of that doula. And then lastly, how many times will you meet the doula before the birth? Will you just have that single prenatal? Will you have several times that you're meeting the doula? How many times will you meet that doula? And how does the doula help with the birth plan? As I mentioned, I meet with the doula, with the clients, I type up the birth plan and I give that to them. So that's basically some questions that I recommend using for your interview, as well as what is a doula, how does a doula help support your birth, what does the doula bring to the birth, and why have a doula. So I hope this was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, you can tweet at me at PYC Yoga on Twitter. You can also reach out if you have a specific question, email deb@prenatalyogacenter.com. So it was wonderful seeing you this morning. Have a great day. Namaste.